about what epilepsy looks like and what it doesn't look like, and sort of being an advocate for us out in the community. And that doesn't mean going out and teaching, but just being aware. So if something does happen, you aren't contributing to the negative stigmas that are out there.
My question.
That's a good question.
I have one. What are like problems you face like as a charity, like financial funding, like stuff like that? Not enough money, not enough space.
Never enough money, never enough space. never computers that work. That's my big problem today.
So like in like 5 years, like what are your goals? To get like a bigger place to
More
get
money, more space, more computers that work.
So, I mean, the biggest challenge for all charities is funding. Governments change and government funding changes and their priorities change. United Way funding changes sometimes because they have different priorities. Donors who donate to us pass on. So keeping funding active and alive, not literally, is a big challenge for us. We have one of our big fundraisers is Buster Fest. If it rains, people don't come out. That's a huge problem for us. We won't make our money. And our biggest challenge in fundraising is making sure that we have enough staff and enough resources for people out there that need them. So in 5 years, our goal really is to, like we've been talking about building a family, is to provide the home. So one of our long-term goals is to get out of an office building and to have a epilepsy house where people can stop in and make a meal, or they can sit on the sofa and watch TV, or come to counseling, or to a group, or any of our services, but just to feel like they have a space to come into and feel comfortable.
Okay.
Who's gonna
Another
win?
problem that we face too, though, is we've mentioned it before, but a lot of people don't know what epilepsy is, or don't know what a seizure looks like, or if they do see a seizure on the street, they mistake it for drunkenness or mental illness or something that it's not. So that's something that we face often too, is just getting word out there of what seizures are, what they are not. Even, we've recently done training with the Toronto Police Force. One of our staff members went to every police division in the city of Toronto to train police officers in the city of what seizures look like and what they can look like. Because sometimes seizures are not, people falling on the ground and shaking, but they can be people wandering, or people, saying things that you wouldn't expect, or strange hand movements, or things that really you would not expect.
Or even just in the middle of a conversation, stopping like that, and just not being present. Seizures can manifest in any possible way you can think of.
Okay.
A good resource, for you and for anyone, we just launched what's called Epilepsy at Work, and there's a great couple of tutorial videos there that show people having seizures and what you can do to help, and it's actually an interactive multiple choice, so you can pick, do you give the person a pillow, or do you, put a spoon in their mouth, and all these options, and it trains you on what to do when someone's having a seizure, so that would be a great tool for you. It's called Epilepsy at Work.
Do you guys have anything more to say?
Thanks for coming down here. Who organized this? Which one of you?
I guess all of us.
All of you together? Do any of you have a connection to epilepsy that you want to share? Anybody
I
have
don't.
epilepsy, or have a family member, or someone in your school maybe that you know of?
Well, school's like people with like disabilities, but like
But you don't know for sure
Yeah.
if it's epilepsy or something else, yeah? Yeah.
yeah.
So I have epilepsy, did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I got involved with Epilepsy Toronto, actually, is about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, when I was when I was 15. I was like in my mid-30s, I guess, late 30s. I started having seizures, and I didn't no one in my family has seizures. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know what epilepsy was. And when I was in university, I studied it because I was a psychology major, but I didn't know anything about it. There was no reason for me to have them. I didn't have any other diseases. I just all of a sudden started having seizures. And I came to Epilepsy Toronto after I went to my neurologist. I found Epilepsy Toronto just by Googling, and I called them up and I was like, what is this? Like, can you tell me about this? Because I didn't understand. And I came down here and met with them. And then eventually I started volunteering here, and then eventually I started working here, and here I am years later. But yeah, it's, you know, so just, you know, just knowing about this place, somebody asked, I think you asked about how you can help, just knowing about this place and spreading the word, telling other people about Epilepsy Toronto, because you never know when something's gonna happen, and somebody you know is going to have a seizure. It can happen because of head injuries. Sometimes if you're, you know, playing a sport and you get a head injury, sometimes people will have a seizure after concussion or bad head injury, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's amazing how epilepsy can, you may not have someone in your life now, but you never know. I mean, I started here, I had no one in my life that had epilepsy, and then in the course of a couple of years, someone very close to me was diagnosed with epilepsy. So even though you may not have a relationship to epilepsy in your life right now, that doesn't mean it will not happen, because it can happen to anyone at